Yeah. So, I mean, even as far as like it's the Home Office, right? So this is like British intelligence. They'll come in. I mean, I've heard stories that, because this is international news. The Henry Nowak story. This has got everyone riled up. So, like, one of the most important things is that he does this speech, right? And I've heard stories that they'd go so far to actually blackmail the family members, the grieving members. Before we get into it, what you're about to watch is the censored version of this episode. Increasingly, the algorithm is becoming more and more hostile to the type of content I want to deliver. This is a fully independent channel which is contending with the real-world issues. If you'd like to support me and keep these talks alive, please head over to the Substack, where here and only here you'll find the full uncensored video, along with live Q&As, a chance to speak to some of the biggest voices in this space, and building a community of like-minded people. I'll leave a link in the description. Please be sure to check it out. Alternatively, if you do want to watch the whole episode for free, you can find the censored version on Spotify. If you do watch it here, all I'd ask is please be sure to follow. Please be sure to give it a 5-star review. This really, really helps with the algorithm. Anyways, enough from me. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Actually, I do want to start with Henry, even though this has been covered a lot, but you have quite a good insight. So I wanted to start off with a quick video.
Henry did nothing wrong. He was one of the kindest, friendliest, and most inclusive people you could ever hope to meet. He was amazing in every way. Henry did not die with dignity. He did not die with the care he deserved. He lost consciousness before anyone believed him. Let me be absolutely clear. We hold victim Tigwa solely and 100% responsible for the brutal murder of our son. But Henry should not have died on the streets of Southampton in police custody. The way he was treated was inhumane and degrading.
So when I originally saw that, I was thinking, wow, he's so restrained, and to come out and have, just such a calm temper at one of the most horrific crimes we've probably seen in a long, long time. But you actually think there's more to that, right?
100%. So what happens in these situations is there's an office based at a Whitehall, which is called the Research, Information and Communications Unit. It was actually set up to deal with counter-terrorism. Now, what will happen in these situations is they will come in, they will sit down with the family, and basically they'll write that speech for them. I just don't believe for a second this guy wrote that speech, and I'll tell you why. Because there was a couple of key words in it and key themes. He used the word inclusive. Do you ever use the word inclusive in your daily life? Would you ever describe anyone you know as inclusive?
Right, yeah, no, never. So
that is a very specific term that is used by the regime to mean I'm not racist. That's what inclusive means. So he clearly said inclusive. The next thing he did was then say that we hold Vikram Digwa solely responsible, which is again clearly stating this is one individual. It's not representative of a wider group of people. And they do this all the time. The big one for people to look it up is the Valdo Calacane killings in Nottingham when he went on a stabbing spree. And I believe one of the mothers is now actually calling it out, the racial element. But at the time, parents came out very scripted, very pre-planned. They gave a speech that basically someone that would work for The Guardian would write. And these people, you've got to remember, these people are in a state of shock. They've just lost a child. They're in a court. They will basically just say what is written in front of them. And you can't, I mean, even today, the family of Stephen Ogilvie have apparently released a statement, issuing a call for calm and saying that we hope that people don't, I mean, as if a family would have the time or the thought to release a statement like that. So someone comes in, or it's community support officers from the police, they sit down, they write these speeches and they just sign off on them or they deliver them.
Yeah. So, I mean, even as far as like, it's the Home Office, right? So this is like British intelligence. They'll come in. I mean, I've heard stories that, because this is international news. The Henry Nowak story, this has got everyone riled up. So, like, one of the most important things is that he does this speech, right? Mm-hmm. And I've heard stories that they'd go so far to actually blackmail the family members, the grieving members.
Very possible. And there is a key reason why. If you listen to like James O'Brien and LBC, he will always say, you far-right thugs are going against this is the other term they use, the express wishes of the family. See, you have to remember, we're dealing with people, the annual budget, like, well, here's a stat for you. The City of London every single day has a revenue in currency deals of $5 trillion, right? 5 trillion per day in currency transactions goes through the City of London. In order to maintain this system, there is a vested interest. So you imagine how many millions they're spending every year on PR, on consultants, on knowing the right words to use. So that's the term express wishes. And they clearly do that. In terms of the blackmail, I mean, I could be very conspiratorial and say that, look, they'll come in and threaten your family. I don't think they probably need to do that, because the average norm, and the thing is, they'll know what to say. This is the other thing people don't realize when they're dealing with the police. The police and the authorities are trained to extract what they want. So they'll come in and they'll say, look, Mr. Nowak, I'm sure you'll agree with what has happened to Henry. You're a grieving family. You won't want that to happen. Do you want any other parents to be making a speech in a court saying that their son's just lost their life? And they'll, as I said, they won't need to come in and put like a gun to their head. They'll do it. Look, you're a good man, because I think he had quite a good job as well. You have a good role in life. We're asking you to do your bit for society, and please try and, let's make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else's son. I mean, I think 99% of people would probably go along with that in that situation. They would just be a good citizen, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, the propaganda machine is so powerful.
It is.
It can convince you to take a completely experimental piece of medicine at a rate of like 80. No, it's even higher, isn't it? It's like, but I think it's around the 80% mark.
It was
the first uptake. And hindsight, everyone's like, "Oh, why did I do that?" I mean, some are still probably going for the boosters, but the propaganda machine is so powerful. You are right. You are right. They probably the use of blackmail is probably so rare because most people will just.
Here's another statistic that will blow your mind. The budget for the security services in Britain is £5 billion per annum. So MI5, MI6, GCHQ, £5 billion per year. I mean, this is an eye-watering sum of money. And this is where I laugh at people's naivety as to like how they think that they're going to be the one to finally beat that. They're the one that's going to finally come up with the answer to take that down. This is very, very well organized, and it is an infinite sum of money that is ready to back it up, and resources as well. That's like, I just sorry to move on slightly, but that's another two people that are going into prison today. A father of two and a young guy. And people they underestimate the resources that the police have. The police do have, like, if you go out and you riot, and look, I'm agnostic. What people want to do is up to them. I understand people's anger. I'm not disavowing people doing it. But please don't be naive to the fact that the very next day, there's going to be a team of people. They're going to be poring over all the footage, all the body cams. They've got facial recognition software. They're going to find you. And don't be naive to the power of the system, because the system is very powerful, because it has to be, because of the anger that's out there.
Yeah. And just like they did with Henry, there are so many examples of them doing this does have that calming effect. I was just talking about with Mark. If it's reversed, then they will paint the picture. If the aggressor is the white man, they'll paint the picture. It's the worst thing that ever happened. It's racist. It's this. It's that. Obviously, with the Henry Nowak is the perfect example. They downplayed it as much as they could. They avoid releasing as much information, for the longest time. And before I move on, but like the big one, which is kind of really obvious to people, is the whole "Don't Look Back in Anger," Ariana Grande, the bombing, right? It's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you like? Why would that be the appropriate response after you've just lost so many of your people? It's crazy.
Well, because that is what the regime requires, and the regime will push that. See, again. When these situations happen, they'll have situation rooms, they'll have PR consultants, they'll have brand experts, and they'll all be in there. There is a term for it called controlled spontaneity, which is where they will manage the anger. And I mean, this is the other thing people don't realize as well. Even during these riots, you will have a significant amount of undercover police there as well. Undercover police are embedded everywhere. I mean, they're embedded in every single group that is a dissident group, whether it's a group that could be considered far right or far left. They have informants, and they also have actual undercover police on the ground at any time, taking part. And it's just, I'm not being a doomer. People just need to have a reality check. Okay, about what we're fighting against, because the worst thing you can ever do is underestimate your enemy. Yeah. And they will have people on the ground. I mean, it's like all these things in America. You see them all the time where there's plots to kill politicians or kidnap them, and most of the time it's like federal agents who create these honeypot situations. They go into Telegram. They say, "Look, I agree with you." Because this is the other thing people forget about the police. The police are allowed to break the law when they're undercover. They can attack the police. They can throw rocks at the police to keep their cover. If you do that, you're going to prison. They have a blank slate to do what they like.
Yeah, and I mean, even I've noticed that. Like, I'll get complete random people just message me like, "Hey, do you fancy assassinating this random person?" Right? Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it sounds great. I know.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, there is a lot of honey traps out there, and this is where you have to be on your guard as to what the police are up to, the security services as well, which is really why you see the mistake people make is we are in a bit of like a Cold War. But it's not like a battle in a battlefield where you've got one side versus the other side. You have an overwhelming force. We have to engage in guerrilla style tactics. And that's where, like, with regard what I do, I believe my role is to undermine the fabric of the regime. I don't want to undermine the fabric of society, because we actually need to keep society getting better, but undermining the fabric of the regime and their lies and the propaganda that they spew to get people to recognise we don't live in a democracy. We don't have freedom of speech. We don't have freedom of assembly. It is in many ways, shapes and forms a tyranny. And a tyranny that would, if you live in China or North Korea, right, you know that that's the leader. This is what you're allowed to say. This is what you're not allowed to say. You understand that the press or the media are propaganda arms and propaganda wings of those governments. People here still believe that we're a democracy, that we're free, and that the press is telling you the truth. It's nonsense. That's why it's even more insidious, because people don't realise they're in this prison. It's got, the walls are much, much further away than they think, but they're still walled in.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? The sophistication of this machine is incredible. And it's not just ours too. Obviously, everyone's more or less aware of the small country in the Middle East, which has insane power. And it's not just, what's going on now. It's generational. It's decades, centuries. Could be. Yeah. So,
but see, what I will say is, one positive is, the more draconian you become and the more authoritarian you become, the more the likelihood that it is actually coming to the end. And that is what always happens when governments start behaving like this, when groups of people start doing this, it's usually the beginning of the end. And, you know, that's certainly the case for that entity you're talking about over there. And they are approaching an end cycle. And I keep saying this to people, when this cycle ends, I don't know, but it will end. And we just have to keep working towards that end.
It seems, and I completely agree with that. And this whole like pride before the fall, like they've overplayed their hand. It's now so obvious. You can't put the narrative back in the bag. It's too late for that.
No.
But it does seem like they're kind of hedging all their bets on AGI. And, you know, maybe this is going to be the Hail Mary that pulls them back. Who knows? Well,
that's the big one I've been focusing on recently, is all these sort of data stroke surveillance centers. Like they will just surveil the population and they will use AI to control people.
So if you've made it this far, first of all, thanks very much. If you're watching on YouTube, please remember to comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're watching on Spotify, please be sure to give it a 5-star review. The full uncensored version of this episode can be found on Substack and Substack alone. Both YouTube and Spotify require censorship. However, Substack doesn't. With one YouTube already taken away, it's only a matter of time before it happens again. On top of that, with the Substack, we'll be doing live Q&As, talks with some of the biggest voices in this space, and a chance for you to ask the questions you want answering. Head over to Substack now for only £5 a month. I'll leave a link for this in the bio below. Cancel anytime. Thanks for watching this week's episode, and I hope to see you next time. All the best.